Okay, so welcome everybody. It's so good to see you all. Really good to see you all. Before we officially begin, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge the Kikite First Nations and all Coast Salish peoples on whose unceded territories we live, learn, and work. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Marvyne Jenoff. Marvyne's deep understanding of human nature's ups and downs, joys and trepidations is ever prevalent throughout the book as she weaves a pathway and gently shines a light into the hazy corners and dusty closets encountered on her own separate journeys as we travel life's winding road. This is a balanced look into now and then. As the sections in the book suggest, readers will find themselves recalling memories and reliving magic moments from yesteryear as they read the lines and then read between the lines to find their own truths, their own inner selves. She deftly wields both soft and the sharpened edges of her pen in harmony with the subject matter presented in each poem. It's my pleasure to turn the mic over to Marvyne. Oh, Candace, I'm sorry, were you going to say a few words?
Yes, actually, I was going to try and set the scene a little bit by reading my favorite poem from the book. So I'm going to read from Southern Ontario, A Sea Tale. An urban woman and a maritime man went for a walk by the lake as a parting gesture. His steel trunks all packed, and she, already flighty with appointments so as not to be lonely. She busied herself in the gravel, poking and rummaging like a bird, and settled as he waited softly on a piece of granite colored to match her newly upholstered chairs. She could also see it scrubbed and pretty on a bathroom shelf, or, as she shifted its weight, a natural foil for a green plant. And as he ran heavily along the shore, bearing his defeated kindnesses and the whole bleak gamut of their seasons, she mistook his harsh winter grimace for acceptance. And she thought when she missed him, she could hold the stone to her ear. He slows now, breathing, large, over the shore for him endless, and the horizon far. His generous love recalled, in colors shrunken, hard and small, his generous sorrow, seeking whales. And now, over to the feature of the show, Marvyne Jenoff.
Okay. Carol, thank you for your generous introduction. And Candace, thank you for all the work you've done on the book, Climbing the Rain. I think it was much more work than you anticipated, but it's a beautiful book, if I say so myself, and it feels really good in the hands to handle it. Yeah. As Carol mentioned, the book has two time divisions, then and now. The poem Candace read as her favorite is a love poem from the then section. So in keeping with that theme, I'm going to read love poems as well. Okay, the first poem, Drum and Company. If you happen to be looking at the book, it's page 43. This is from the early 1960s. And many of you will remember those days when students used pens and books and notebooks, and we had no devices, no cell phones and so on. Also in those days, people played guitars and drums, including bongo drums. And in this poem, there's an African or Middle Eastern clay drum, sort of shaped like this, with the skin stretched out and their cords holding it on. So drum and company. My friend, my drummer friend wakes from his books and his pens, and his hands, his fingers call him to the drum, making paper lace patterns for the tummy of the drum. His head, his laugh, his head winds high, and his ankles flex, and his toes awake to the rhythm of the loud hand, the sharp hand, the belly of the belly drum that spins in a concentrated dance. A dance that flies, that springs from the clay and the cords and the skin of the bum drum. Dance of the monolithic thigh bone, dance of the rise of the drum and the drummer to the rise of the drummer bird. I am done, I am spun, I have bellied to the memory of the drum, soft, soft, on the toes of a kiss, where I listened for the end of the drumming, and my listening for the drummer was my friend again, my friend again, my friend. That's, thank you. That's sort of an experiential poem. These poems are in the then section. They're about several different people over many years. And in this poem, page 44, it's God Indoors. I use the word God, and not in the religious sense, but sort of the general idea of God. God indoors. Where my darling sleeps, where he has lain down in faith and now utterly sleeps, and the covers soft on his body roll like the sea and grow calm. Where his hair flows back on the pillow, baring his impassive ear and the swell of his jaw, where all the little points of beard pierce tinily the slow salt warmth of sleep. God hovers, whole above stillness. Then through the first flicker of smile, God slips into his heart and curls there. Until to a startled eye, a God-hurled beam announces corners, doors, white light. Until a smile awakens, and a rainbow arc furls flowers onto the wall. See patient leaves, yea, softly, even the pink shadows of leaves. This one is The Goose and the Commuter Train, page 45. It requires a bit of background. It refers to Mississauga. This is a city adjacent to Toronto. There are some people here from across the country. And I lived in Mississauga and worked there for some time, but many people commuted from Mississauga to Toronto. And the commuter train in this poem is the GO train. Now, in the poem, there's a reference to a kind of, not a folk tale, it's a folk riddle. A man wants to cross a river with a fox, some sort of fowl, and some grain. He has a small raft and can only take one of them at a time. How can he get across the river with them all safely so that the fowl doesn't eat the grain and the fox wouldn't eat the fowl? So that's part of the poem. The Goose and the Commuter Train. I guess this makes me the girl out here in Mississauga with the brown umbrella. Now that the girl in Toronto with the green umbrella lent hers to you yesterday for your journey back out to Mississauga. This morning, on your way to Toronto to return her green umbrella, you take along my brown one in case it should rain on your way back here to Mississauga. All we need now is a girl in Toronto with a blue umbrella to complete the classic situation of the man on the two-seater raft. He had to cross the river first with the goose and leave it on the other side, then come back and take the buckwheat over, leave it on the other side and come back for the goose. Then take the fox over and leave it with the buckwheat, and finally come back again for the goose if he wanted to end up on the other side with all the eyes intact. Still, I want you to feel free to borrow my brown umbrella anytime. Everyone knows we were childhood friends, and I wouldn't want you to be seen with cloud on your face. I also have an orange and white umbrella with blossoms in the Asian manner, zebras, anemones, fish that utter dreams. You glimpsed it once. You may think that's the one you have right now tucked under your arm so its wings won't flap on the train. But I want you to know the things I give you to take away to Toronto, my keys, my past, are spare. There's something I forgot to mention at the beginning. But in the southern part of Mississauga, where I lived, geese were very common. So I chose a goose as a fowl for the poem. And there's a reference to buckwheat. This poem is about a childhood friend whose grandparents, like mine, came over from Eastern Europe. Buckwheat was a staple in both our kitchens as we were growing up, and so I chose buckwheat for the grain. The poem is constructed. Sometimes people wonder whether a poem is factual. The next one I'm going to read, Embracing Union Station, none of this ever happened. I was never in a train station with this person. The poem is about parting. And there are parts in italics, inner thoughts, which I'll try to indicate with a kind of whisper. I hope that's going to work. Page 47, if anyone is following. Embracing Union Station. Triumphant and a little sad, and standing on my toe, he reaches the station rafters and looks down on the tops of trains, considering destinations. Considering trains this toe will never enter, he does not forget me. Lowers his hand, kind butterfly, around my hair. No more. He is standing on my toe, and the nail splits, oh, and the red pain straight as a whistle claims my heart, my wobbling heart, dear bubbling frog of a heart, grows wary, joyful, still, resourceful, sprouts a nail, and the heart nail splits, and the bright pain quickens the question he's fostered inside me, a monster who'd burst, who'd be born and beat him and cry, silenced by insinuating kisses and quick visits. How can I know you'd love on my amazing sheets, an agile but complaining woman? The trapped pain festers, and my toe knows he is standing on my toe, and the bone splits, oh, and seeping and hissing at last onto the platform, my blood curses thus. This man is sinister, loved, dangerous, strong. He flings away my arms. He wants that train. One nail, one miserable nail. I thought you'd promised total crucifixion. I'll read now from the now section of the book. These are more recent poems, poems of love and age. I'm happy to say that the love is much less tumultuous and aging is, well, interesting. There's some background first. I'm going to read Bones' Full Business on page 116. A few years ago, I was visiting my sister in Manitoba. I fell and broke my leg in a complicated way. With 2 surgeries, recovery, and rehabilitation, I was out west with my sister for 6 months. And during that time, I wrote poems about what was happening to me, and they are in the section of the book called Bones' Business. The last poem of the series is this one, which is returning home to Toronto to my partner, boyfriend, I never know what the right word is. So this is Bones' Full Business. When you gallantly extend your hand to me, I'm home, no longer need that kind of help. The gesture fulfills our months of stilted phone calls, emails inadequate to our true connection. When you extend your hand to me in invitation, fingers near touching, Michelangelo's great painting comes to mind, those reaching, robust limbs, God gently giving life to Adam. It doesn't matter which is which, we're all reclining. It's our bones that bear us closer, brace and release us into each other's warmth. Surely this is the bones' full business. What good is talk unless we also feel each other's rise and fall of breath? And what good breath without familiar touch, or touch unless we move and move toward dance? No one thinks of the bones implied inside those faraway painted limbs, bearers of life. Our bones too claim privacy, hidden, ready for business, inside our waking limbs where they belong. Not seen nor heard. Could we not see nor hear, the air would still connect us. Proof there is air. Proof of what they call pheromones or pheromones, nuisance to remember. Whiffs of you beckon me, small pungencies. Who said nectar was sweet? Gamut of temperatures entices touch to warm parts, cool parts, warm parts. Slowness too is our friend. Let time cavort with air, abstract, but our own waves stir. Large movements animate the air. The whiffs go wild a while, then welcome sweaty rest. Dozing, I cool against your chest. Breath swells within your chest. Hair tickles. Tickle sneezes, flails for a tissue. Back to blessed rest, so close, no air between. Your heart beats strong, mine fibrillates along, not heard nor seen. Potatoes. This poem basically documents what did happen. So here it is. A startling gift, potatoes. A 10-pound bag of potatoes in my one-person kitchen. You're going to cook them. You're going to soothe my aging stomach. Potatoes. No mellifluous name, nor graceful shape, nor fetching color. Color subtle as the earth, that's something. No musical romance of pasta, nor widespread dignity of rice. Plainness straight from the earth, land of our birth, that's something. You select two, and side by side we work. I sort of rinse them. Water brightens the brown, makes visible a network pattern, rootlets or tiny fissures opening for growth. You, no nonsense, scrub till you wear off the peel, reveal the color of my skin. Networks of gray thatch define your shins. Microwave allows 6 minutes for a still embrace. Another 2 while the potatoes cool till you retrieve them. Small table, water glasses clink, toes touch, yogurt is passed, and yes, the potato you have tamed to softness, after all, does soothe my stomach. Gentle aftertaste of earth. And the last in this section would be elder sleepover, and this is more or less as it happens with some more details later. Elder sleepover. Why didn't we think of this before? Our languorous afternoon, of course, but then you come prepared. Your own water filter, your goat weed tea, your steel-cut oats, peaches and chocolate for me. Why didn't we think of this before? My evenings, pink pill from the foil pack before dinner, don't lie down for 2 hours. 2 different pills with a glass of water, don't lie down for another half hour. 10 o'clock, hearing aids out, bite guard in, thumb brace on. And here you are, your jaw trussed in your pale blue anti-snoring gear. Shy as strangers, we sleep side by side. I wake as I sometimes do. I could breathe deep to fall asleep again, or, grinning that you're here beside me, tease this visit into a poem. Can it be you hear me thinking? A muffled syllable from you, murmur from me, and oh, the thrill of the octave difference in our voices in the dark, our reaching hands. I did indeed lie there awake, teasing the idea into a poem. And in making a poem, of course, we select. The poem says, I wake as I sometimes do. That's a nice line. The reality is it was a bathroom break, but you don't want that in this poem. And in some different times of my life, I have worn a bite guard, to prevent the teeth from grinding. And I have worn a thumb brace when the thumb is, gets funny with aging. But I don't use them now. I added them to the poem to make it more effective. I'm going to end the reading part with 2 pandemic poems and then the title poem of the book. Now, the pandemic, when the pandemic started, I thought to myself, no virus is going to tell me what to write. But all our lives have changed. And a few years in, some poems have come out of that. It's the fear, the guilt, suppose we didn't do enough to protect ourselves and others, and how we rationalize. We fool ourselves into thinking that everything is fine. So here is January 2021 Atonement. And a little more background. The poem is scary and none of it is true. I was on my way to the park for a walk when I could see dark clouds, a storm brewing, and the wind was so strong that I turned back. Some of the images are things I saw in the yards along the street, but again, none of this happened. Atonement, January 2021. Down the windy tree-lined street, my flimsy mask blew off. My fault. I wore it under my nose, protecting no one. As the wind propelled me home to get another mask, a hat flew past me, old woman's hat, gnarled flowers, and a child's doll flew past, then the dollhouse, then one of those fat plastic tricycles. Safely up the elevator to my unit, mad winds out there and purple clouds, I searched not for another flimsy mask, but the means to make a proper one. Tight woven fabric from an extra pillowcase and a filter, tissue, dryer sheet. I like to make things. As I was peacefully sewing enough masks to save everyone in my building, a branch flew up to my 12th floor window and crashed through. A rat sprang out from among the glass-torn leaves. But I am safely in the other room embroidering the masks, with stiff but pretty cross-stitch flowers no wind would ever covet. 10 masks a day I'll make, till everyone on my street is rescued, even their dogs, and I too am saved, forgiven, nay, heroic. And in a different vein, this is my genie, Genie, and the form of this one is quatrains. It's in 4-line stanzas, so my genie. Invisible as the virus is my genie, though I know it's with me. It finds me pretty flowered masks and grows my hair. And for this indoor life, it's taught me Zoom. Now I can sort of visit you, and even you in Timbuktu, compare our hair and earrings on the screen. It's taught me online shopping, how in one breath to browse and buy said earrings, kitchen gadgets, fancy sheets, and this preposterous bedside lamp. No shade, no light bulb, but a flat white stem arising from an angled base. Here's where my kind of genie lives. Bright, brighter, brightest, one playful touch can light it. Charge my phone, start coffee in the morning, text you and you that I'm awake and well. One more touch and colors flower in the base, pulsing and pulsing through their rainbow. That's my genie fending off the virus. I am charmed. The lamp does exist and I love it, but some parts are not true. The lamp doesn't make coffee and that's fine with me. I don't drink coffee, and it doesn't text and that's fine with me because I don't like texting. So I'll end with the title poem, Climbing the Rain, which is very short. And how did the idea start, the idea of the poem itself? I don't remember, but it could have been something like this. I was in an elevator with a neighbor. The neighbor mentioned the weather and a light bulb went off in my head. Climbing the rain. So, rain falls from what beginning? I rise toward what end?